Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishwabad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtotala Sata Sri Srimad His Grace et Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishwabad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtotala Sata Sri Srimad His Grace Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavana Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se ko Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kundiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samanavartis. All glories to the Samanavartis. All glories to the Samanavartis. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pasta Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvesesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtapayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth skanda, 13th chapter, sloka number 23. Na avadhyeyaha prajapalana prajabhihi agavan api yat asau lokapalanam vibharti ojaha swatejasa navadhyeya prajapalaha prajabhiragavanapi yadasau lokapalanam vibhartyo jatsvatejasa navadhyeya prajapalaha prajabhiragavanapi yadasau lokapalanam vibhartyo jatsvatejasa navadhyeya prajapalaha prajabhiragavanapi yadasau lokapalanam vibhartyo jatsvatejasa Vaishnavis. Na, never, avadhyeyaha, to be insulted, prajapalaha, the king, prajabhihi, by the citizens, agavan, ever sinful, api, even though Sri Sri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Yet, because asau, he, Lokapalanam, of many kings, Vibharti, maintains ojaha, prowess, swatejasa, by personal influence. Translation: it is the duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appears to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all the other ruling chiefs. Please repeat. It is a duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appears to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. According to Vedic civilization, the king is supposed to be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is called Narayana, indicating that Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in human society as the king. It is etiquette that neither a Brahmana nor a Kshatriya king is ever insulted by the citizens. Even though a king appears to be sinful, the citizens should not insult him. But in the case of Vena, it appears that he was cursed by the Nara Devatas. Therefore, it was concluded that his sinful activities were very grievous. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. This chapter entitled The Descendants of Druva Maharaj. So among them, many were great devotees of the Lord who had assumed the power, succeeding Druva Maharaj. And one of them, at least, Vena, was different from all others, is that he was very sinful and not fit to be king. So the Srimad Bhagavatam relates that this Vena Maharaj was deposed, not only deposed, but he was killed by the Brahmanas and replaced afterwards by another king. So Vidura is inquiring from Maitreya Muni, how is it possible that one of the descendants of Druva Maharaj could be so sinful that he was cursed by the Brahmanas? Because generally, it's such a family of a pious Kshatriya, all the members of the family, all the descendants should also have the similar qualities. Druva Maharaj was a perfect example of a perfect Vaishnava king. So all his descendants also should have at least some of his qualities. But in this case, Vena was just the opposite, so much so that he had to be removed by the Brahmanas. So we understand from this that birth in a particular family may not indicate that a person is pious or impious, or that he should be necessarily a Brahmin. Not as important as the qualities that he exhibits, his qualities and activities. In this case, being born in such an exalted family, Vena should have been also a great Kshatriya, a great king. But here, because of his bad qualities and bad activities, then he was just the opposite. So that is a subject of wonder, and that is why Vidura is inquiring, what are the circumstances in which Vena Maharaj was in this way removed by the Brahmanas. So we understand from this description that the king, even though such exalted in the society, all the ordinary citizens of the state must pay respect to the king, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, or in the translation, actually the sloka said, Navadhyeya prajapalaha prajabir raghavanapi. That even though sometimes the king may appear to act in a sinful manner, he may have done something wrong, but the citizens should not disrespect him. That is a duty in this Vedic civilization. The Varnashram Dharma should be followed in this manner. The Kshatriyas are ruling the state, and all the other citizens dutifully should follow the orders of the king and never insult him in any way. So like in many monarchies also, in Europe and other places also, like in Egypt and other South American states, there was a monarchy. And this monarchy was what is called monarchy of divine right. That is, the king was established by the priests. Just like in England, for instance, the king is enthroned. Ultimately, there's a ceremony enthroning of the king or the queen, and that is done by the head of the Anglican Church, the Archbishop of Canterbury. So that is the tradition is like that. Similarly, in France, also the kings used to be enthroned by the head of the Catholic Church. So that means that it's a great responsibility on the part of the king to rule properly according to religious principles. And that also indicates that sometimes if he is not up to the task, then the head of the church can also remove him. That was the condition also at that time. So we see that this Vedic civilization, to some extent, was also followed in other parts of the world. So here, the king should not be disrespected. That is one of the principles of Vedic civilization, because he has such an important responsibility to control and to establish law and order according to religious principles. And the king is, as we have seen in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, for instance, Maharaj Parikshit was a very dutiful king, perfect Vaishnava, and he used to go throughout his kingdom at regular intervals to see that everybody is following Varnashram Dharma and not committing any sinful activities. So sometimes Maharaj Parikshit used to meet somebody who is, like one instance, somebody is beating a bull. So that is a very big offense. And immediately Maharaj Parikshit was ready to kill that person. Immediate punishment. He has a danda, as like in the previous sloka, danda vrata dhare ragi. The king has this danda, the rod of punishment, and he is entitled to punish anyone among the citizens if they commit sinful activities. He has to exercise his judgment and take consideration and give appropriate punishment. So in that case, Maharaj Parikshit was ready to kill that person. That person was actually a representative of Kali. So Maharaj Parikshit understood that the Kali Yuga is now already come. And when Maharaj Parikshit was ready to kill him, but that person, he surrendered. He offered obeisances to Maharaj Parikshit. So the Kshatriya cannot kill anybody who is surrendering. That is a principle that they observe. No? Like on the battlefield also, it may happen that one opposing element will surrender. At that time, the battle is over. So there's no need of fighting anymore if they surrender. So in this way, Maharaj Parikshit was an exemplary king. So Druva Maharaj also, we have seen earlier that he was exemplary. When he heard that his brother had been killed by the Yakshas, then immediately he started to punish these Yakshas. So, but sometimes the king may deviate from his duty, and that becomes a consideration for the Brahmanas, whether to restrain the king. The king has to take advice from his ministers and from the Brahmanas. He is not ruling alone. That's another important characteristic of Vedic society. Above the Kshatriyas are the Brahmanas. And if the Kshatriyas do not consider the importance of the Brahmanas, then it became a dictatorship. That is no more monarchy of divine right. It simply becomes dictatorship. So we have seen also this dictatorship in the history in Europe, in Russia, China, in recent times, when somebody who is in power does not care for any religious principles and he simply wants to be ambitious and kill any amount of people who may oppose him. So that is not the proper behavior of a Kshatriya. The Kshatriya, the king, is always following the advice of superiors, Brahmanas and other ministers, just like these Brahmanas and advisors. They are not looking into the day-to-day affairs of the kingdom, and they are very much detached from any type of advantage or gratification. So an example is Chanakya Pandit. Chanakya Pandit was the advisor to King Maurya Gupta, Chandra Maurya Gupta. That was 2,000 or more, 2,000 years ago. So he is very famous as a Brahmana advisor to the king, emperor. And his lifestyle was very simple. As the king is occupying a very big palace with all amenities, all comforts, and but the Chanakya Pandit was living in a very simple hut outside the palace, not taking advantage of his position as an advisor. He was completely aloof from the lifestyle of the king, even though he was such an important person. And there is an anecdote in this connection that somebody came to meet Chanakya Pandit. So when he came inside the hut, Chanakya Pandit was reading some literature, some Vedic literature, and some of the king activities in order to advise the king. So I was reading something in that respect. And then, so he had, there was no electricity, of course, so he had a small candle on his table, and he was reading like this and studying. So that man came inside the hut. Then at that time, Chanakya Pandit put off that candle and lit another candle. So then they had a conversation. So that person asked from Chanakya Pandit, I have some doubt that I saw that when I came you were reading with one candle, and then after some time then you lit another candle. So I wanted to know why you have in this way changed from one candle to another candle. I want to know from you, because I feel very much surprised. So the Chanakya Pandit said that, yes, you say when you came in, then I was doing the king duty. I mean, in the sense that I was preparing some advice for the king. So there was that candle belongs to the palace. And then I finished that duty, and I took another candle, because at that time then I was preparing for some marriage ceremony, so I had to consult different parties. That has nothing to do with the king. It is my own personal activity, so that's why I changed from one candle to another. So this is the honesty and straightforwardness that Chanakya Pandit exhibited at that time. He was not utilizing the king's or the facilities for his own life, but he was making things apart. This is the king's, and this is my own personal activity. In any way, he was never taking advantage of his position. So that is the behavior of those brahmanas who are giving advice to the king, and ideally speaking. Nowadays, of course, the governments are run in a completely different manner. Prabhupada used to say that this Queen Elizabeth is the last queen, that afterwards this monarchy will be dissolved. In Kali Yuga, it will not stand anymore. So the Kshatriyas are supposed to exhibit very good quality according to Varnashram Dharma. But in the case of Vena, it was something different. Instead of being a king, he became a dictator, just like we had Stalin, Hitler, and all these people taking advantage of the weakness of the people, and somehow or other, by trick, they took over the position and started to exercise their power indiscriminately, killing thousands and millions of people. Many, many millions of people were killed because of these dictators. So that is certainly a very grievous sin on the part of the head of the state. And the Kshatriya, according to a Vedic principle, should never indulge in such sinful activities as killing unnecessarily. So, if he does so, then immediately he'll be corrected by the brahmanas and other ministers, elderly persons who are giving him advice. Now, I would like to also mention the teachings from Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita. In the 16th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna is giving an account of the divine and demoniac nature. First of all, divine qualities of a self-realized soul, a person who is properly following religious principles. And then, very extensively, Lord Krishna is giving an account of the demoniac nature. So we can try to understand what are the qualities of demons. In the whole world, there are two classes of human beings, the Surahs and Asuras. And so we have to understand the difference between the two. Who is Surah, who is Asura? The Surahs are the devotees of the Lord who follow religious principles according to Shastra. And the Asuras are those who are independent-minded, they are full with ego, and they are violent, and they do not care for anybody. They just simply want to enjoy as much as they can. They want to acquire unlimited possessions, and they simply create havoc in the society. So Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, don't worry, you are born of the divine quality. But for our own understanding, and for actually the Kshatriya should know how to distinguish the two classes of people. So it is very important also to understand not only who is a devotee, what are the qualities of the devotee, so that we can develop these qualities. Also, we should know the qualities or the defects of the demons. So we can, by self-introspection, we can try to find out whether we belong to the Sura or Asura. Here, Lord Krishna is telling that sloka number 16, that Anika Chitta Vibhranta Moha Jala Samavritaha Prasakta Kama Bhogeshu Patanti Narake Suchau. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. So as Lord Krishna explains in a different sloka, there are 3 gates leading to hell. Sinful people are slaves of lust, anger, greed, kama, krodha, lobha. And because of uncontrolled senses, uncontrolled mind, they are simply going to hell by disturbing everybody. So here, Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the Asura, he believes in his own strength, and he does not know that whatever he is gaining is due to his own good past deeds. He is given an opportunity to accumulate such things, but he has no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his mass of wealth is due to his own endeavor. A demoniac person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. According to the law of karma, a man takes his birth in a high family, or becomes rich, or very well educated, or very beautiful, because of good work in the past. The demoniacs think that all these things are accidental and due to the strength of one's personal ability. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty, and education. Anyone who comes into competition with such a demoniac man is his enemy. There are many demoniac people, and each is enemy to the others. This enmity becomes more and more deep between persons, then between families, then between societies, and at last between nations. Therefore, there is constant strife, war, and enmity all over the world. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada enlarges the subject matter. It is not that Lord Krishna is giving some teachings in theory. We can see here in this purport how Srila Prabhupada, by his own experience, his own realization, is giving more substance to the teachings of Lord Krishna. He is enlarging the subject matter as Srila Prabhupada sees the situation in the present world, which is a result of demoniac activities. And I remember in this connection, the same topic was spoken by Srila Prabhupada in a lecture given in the month of December 1972 in Calcutta. We had invited Srila Prabhupada, we had arranged a program at the Indo-American Society, and which is a cultural association of friendship between India and America at that time in Calcutta. So it's, this association organized a program, and Srila Prabhupada came to give a lecture. So the subject matter, the title of the lecture was East and West. Prabhupada did not give the title as Surahs and Asuras. He told East and West. which is about the same but in a very polite manner. So in the audience it was very good. About at least 100 people were there belonging to the society, British and American society established in Calcutta. And some others were there also. They had come for the program. So Srila Prabhupada started to describe what is East and what is West. So first of all, East and West, from the geographical viewpoint, it doesn't have significance. Because something that is East, you can tell the same thing also can be seen from the Western angle. Just like Australia is on the eastern side of India, but Australia is on the western side of America. So what is the difference between East and West? Is it just some convention which is not important? That is from the geographical viewpoint. East and West has no deep meaning. It is not important. Now Prabhupada gives the real lecture, real subject matter of the lecture in the second part of his lecture. But Prabhupada says that it has significance from the cultural viewpoint. And Srila Prabhupada started to say that you go to any place in the Western countries, Europe, America, and you ask anybody in the street, anyone, how did you achieve this position? Now you are well situated, and how did you come to that situation? That man or woman, he'll tell, oh, by my own, I have endeavored so much. I went to school, I passed, studied very hard. After so many years, then I got a degree, then I got very good job, and I'm in this way progressing in life by my hard work. So by my hard work, I could achieve some position in society, and certainly in the future, I can also improve very much. I'm very much confident that I will achieve a better position in the future. That is the Western viewpoint. Then Prabhupada said, you come to India, East, and you go to any village, and you ask anybody, any village, you ask, how did you come to that position? My dear sir, how do you, and now you are living like this, how did you come to that position? And the man or woman will tell, this is my fate. This is my fate. I am born in this village due to so many past karma. I have now this position, this situation. That is the answer he's going to give. That is my destiny. So you see, Prabhupada then said, you see, this is West, this is East. The same purport here. When I was reading this purport, immediately I remember that lecture. That was very surprising that otherwise we don't hear much about this subject matter. But it is very essential because the demoniac person thinks that he can live at the sacrifice of all others. Generally, a demoniac person thinks of himself as a supreme God, and a demoniac preacher tells his followers, why are you seeking God elsewhere? You are yourself God. Whatever you like, you can do. Don't believe in God. Throw away God. God is dead. These are the demoniac's preachings. God is dead. You may be surprised that a famous theologian in Europe, just now I forgot his name, but he wrote a book on the subject matter, God is Dead. So what is his argument? He is telling that at the beginning, for the sake of creation, there was God at the beginning. God created the world, and gradually the world evolved, and now we see the present situation. But that was many, many millions of years ago. At that time, there was God, the creator. But in course of time, God passed away, and now God is dead. We don't see God anymore. So God is dead. And that person is a theologian and highly respected in the religious society at that time. So his thesis was that God is dead. So what Prabhupada is writing is actually not an exaggeration. It is actually the thesis of some of these people. Demoniac people, they have so many theories, atheistic theories, such as the law of, so-called law of Darwin's law, and so on. So the modern society, especially Western society, and Srila Prabhupada could see that in India, the Western influence is coming more and more, the Western ideas, and these demoniac ideas are entering into India since so many years, and more in modern times. And Prabhupada was very much concerned that this should be counteracted. India should again revive its original culture of Varnashram Dharma. As Prabhupada, everybody knows that Prabhupada was intent upon reviving. He said that now 50% of my work is over, remaining 50%, we have to re-establish Varnashram Dharma. That is the foundation of a divine society. Otherwise, if this is not done, then all these demoniac elements will become more and more influential in the Indian society. Not only Indian society, but everywhere in the world. So I was remembering that Srila Prabhupada was given this mission by his spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness in the English-speaking countries, or the Western countries. And this he did very well from 1965 onwards. After a lifetime of preparation, Prabhupada went to the West. And after preaching in the West for a few years, then Prabhupada considered that maybe I have received this mission to preach in the West. What about preaching in India? So when Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, he was paying obeisances to Dwarkadish in Los Angeles temple, ISKCON temple. And Prabhupada explained to Brahmananda Swami that Dwarkadish told me that now you have started your preaching and it is developing in the West. Now you should go back to India and preach in India. That was the direct order from the Supreme Lord Dwarkadish to Srila Prabhupada. And therefore Srila Prabhupada then put a lot of endeavor and time and energy to preach Krishna consciousness in India. And he was so successful despite all the difficulties. As Prabhupada wanted that these demoniac propensities, demoniac theories and philosophies and way of life should not influence, should not develop. So that is the whole Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON society, is meant for that purpose, to establish the Lord Krishna's teachings and establish a divine society everywhere in the world. So there is no place for Vena. At that time there was only one Vena, but now there are Venas everywhere, in every family. Venas are there. So it is certainly very important to consider how the teachings of Lord Krishna, ISKCON society, must preach Bhagavad-Gita principles and establish Lord Krishna as the real leader. As mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada, the Asura, they think they have become God. And nowadays, so many so-called spiritual masters, they are also telling the same thing, that to their followers, why you are looking for God somewhere else? You are yourself God. There is nobody else who can guide you. You are yourself the ultimate authority. So be peaceful and look for yourself and be happy and so on, giving some advice, atheistic advice to their followers. So this is going on, and therefore teachings of Lord Krishna should be propagated everywhere so that nobody should have this misconception that I am the ultimate authority. This is the biggest mistake for the Asuras. They have no consideration. They don't believe in God, or even if they believe in God, they don't render any devotional service. They don't have any positive idea. They are actually envious of God because they think that God is an obstacle. I am myself, I am my own authority, and I want to be the leader, and so on. So all these Asuric ideas become very strong in such society. So the ISKCON society is meant to counteract all this propaganda and establish a government that is ruled, headed by devotees of the Lord. So Prabhupada has this idea to approach all the leaders of society and to convince them to rule the society according to Lord Krishna's teachings. That is a very important aspect of our preaching activity. We have programs for the mass, we have programs for the class. There are different classes also. You have the student class, you have the student means some children class and the higher adolescent class. That is one thing. You have the life membership program for the businessmen, and that's also another type of preaching for a particular class. And then you have the class of politicians. That is also very important. Prabhupada went to so many politicians and tried to convince them of Krishna consciousness. And here in Hyderabad, also at that time, we had organized a program, special program for MLAs. We had a program at the new MLA quarters, and tell them at that time, Achyutananda Swami was giving them lecture that you should follow teachings of Bhagavad-Gita and rule the state according to these teachings, not some type of independent, whimsical political activities, mostly trying to accumulate money and so on. So that is the defect of modern democracy. But Prabhupada wanted to establish the divine monarchy according to Varnashram Dharma. So we should try to do that also in our preaching activities. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, Pooji, for a wonderful class. I like the point that you told about the East and West class giving by Prabhupada. So, geographical wise, they are same, but culture wise, they are different.
Uh-huh.
You told that geographical wise, they are same, and cultural wise, they are different. East and West class, you
East
told.
and, yeah. Yes, right, correct.
So, I like that point, Pooji.
Yes.
And Pooji, I have question in one point that you told that nowadays in the China and other countries, they have a monarchy and like they have a demonic monarchy and they are killing the innocent pupils. Numbers of people they are killing. You told that point in the middle of the class.
Uh-huh. Yes, dictatorship. That is the demoniac type of monarchy.
So my question is this, Pooji, that like we find out into some of the cases like cricket we know. So in cricket, then third umpire does not know the exact situation that it is out or not out. So there is a called as a benefit of doubt. Benefit of doubt means he can give the decision according to his own way. So if the same situation coming into the monarchy, for example, some innocent persons are there. So we does not know exactly he is really an innocent person or he have done the crime. So clue is not there. So in that type of cases, we have to give punishment to that person or not give.
Yes, that is why, very important aspect of Vedic society, that the king is not alone ruling. The king is taking advice. He must take advice from brahmanas and other elderly persons who are helping him to conduct the kingdom. He cannot be independent. That is a principle, very important, yes.
My question is this, Bhuji, that even in this material world, the brahmanas are also imperfect senses only. Because they cannot also tell, because there is no clue that this person is really innocent or have done the mistakes. Now at that type of cases, how can give the punishment? If give the punishment to innocent person, then there is a big havoc, right? And if you did not give the punishment, then also the big problem.
Well, if you want to say that nothing can be perfect in this world, I will agree with you. But as far as possible, if we follow this Varnashram Dharma, then some goodness, sattva gun, can be, and some brahmanas can be cultivated. Prabhupada wanted to raise a new class of brahmanas because Kalo Shudra Sambhava, they practically no more brahmanas. So a new class of brahmanas also, along with a new class of kshatriya, should be educated in that manner, so that gradually the situation in the world should be improved. Otherwise there is a conflict at within family, within community, within society, international, everywhere conflict, everywhere the asuric propensities are very much prominent. So that is, Prabhupada's mission is like that. We can improve at least 10,000 years in Kali Yuga. Krishna consciousness should be prominent. That is our mission. We should accept this. We should not be doubtful on having. We should accept these principles are the best for the society, and we should try to implement them.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, one more question. Prabhuji, we know that the life is started from Krishna. Krishna is a source for everything, each and everything. And each and every planet came from Krishna. But we are taught in the colleges and schools that like planets, we are taught a theory that planets came from the a particle which is expanded, which then exploded and just expanded, and from which the planet has come. And there are many theories, like as you mentioned, there are theories like Big Bang theories and Darwin theories. So the real truth is the plant has came from the Krishna. We are not like why the schools and colleges are not teaching the real knowledge which is real, but we are taught as a theory, but they taught us theories in the schools and colleges.
I didn't-
Why they are not teaching that everything came from Krishna? Why they are not teaching in schools and colleges? They are teaching scientific theories in schools and colleges.
Yes. Demonic teaching. Prabhupada said that we are sending our children to the school, government schools. These schools are simply slaughterhouses of the mind, where all types of atheistic teachings will be taught to the children from the very beginning of their schooling. So that is the problem with the modern day education. They're full of atheistic ideas, and it is certainly the basis for a demoniac society. As you are telling that the teachings of Lord Krishna are not taught anywhere, Bhagavad-Gita should be part of the curriculum. I think now this is under consideration. Maybe I hope it may be implemented. And Bhagavad-Gita as it is, not with a commentary by those who are non-devotees. No. Bhagavad-Gita as it is should be part of the curriculum. So in this way, the children will have from beginning God-conscious education. Yes. Otherwise, modern theories are all demoniac, atheistic. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.